I think it's time we collectively admit that Too Many Losing Heroines very well might have the sluttiest anime school in recent memory. And I can already tell people are going to want to try to say, well, actually, I mean, just look at something like, say, the 100 Girlfriends Who Really Love You. That's a pretty recent one, and they were doing ungodly, unholy things on that rooftop week after week, and that is true. But I think when you compare someone who just boldly flashes you and shows you all the goods to giving you a little more of a peek, but not exposing everything. The tastefulness of the sneaky and hidden in plain sight sluttiness, I think very much gives this school an edge to those that have been incredibly bold as of late. Because when an episode can start with a girl taking Komari to school, listening to Boys Love Pornography, it really sets the stage, and the fact that not a single adult caught a glimpse of all the BS happening behind the scenes. I'm crowning this the sluttiest anime school. I have those full live reactions over on Patreon. If you want to see my mind break in real time to any of these wonderful episodes, you know it's over there exclusively. So, legitimately, I'm not exaggerating. I think this is the school that takes it for me. I've already had my crazy tinfoil hat theories that there's only 2 school faculty members. There's our homeroom teacher, who I do think is drunk often, and there's a nurse. But I don't think the nurse works there. I think she just randomly showed up one day and no one said otherwise. Now, you could try to be super logical and not have fun in life and try to say, well, like with many shows, you're only going to focus on the characters that they have importance with. No, get out of here. There's 2 teachers. This school is run by students. The number of times I look at shit in this anime high school and I say, sure, boobs, certain shots don't always have to be sexual. But schools have dress codes. The way every other scene, there's at least one character that I look at and I say, that would be acceptable or borderline acceptable for after school parties at colleges? But the number of characters that are barely wearing clothes and no one corrects them. There must be no school, but there has to be a school dress code, because otherwise, why are they wearing their school uniforms day after day? Where does the enforcement come? But then when you think about it, right? The nurse, even if we assume she was actually hired by the school, right? Let's just assume she actually gets a paycheck. Every other time she's on screen, she records students with hidden cameras and microphones. She talks about the rowdy gangbangs that her and the teacher have gone through when they grew up. Or in present day, can say, hey, you know, as our boy Nuck is getting shook down by his teacher, do you have any siblings maybe around the ages of 30 so I can maybe not die alone? The nurse comes in, yabba dabba doo style, saying, I want to ride your future man. Oh, wait, I want to meet. It's like, there is no principle. And while sure shows like 100 Girlfriends has the most predator vibe principle that you can think of, there's something about a school that has no morals, that can simultaneously build these amazing emotional character arcs. Komari, fantastic little cinnamon roll. Little sister that's just deserves the goddamn world. But it's the fact that there were adults in this episode. I assume was the parents of all the different students. And the fact that at no point when there was clearly adults on screen were any of the slutty characters on screen, it's like the parents are convinced this is a wholesome, normal school, but then we see the gremlins behind the scenes, and I'm like, brilliant. Now, with that out of my system, I just need to make a mention of that. Komari. So I thought this arc was going to carry into the next episode, but it kind of gives me the impression it's over. It does give me that vibe, but if not, it will definitely be over next episode. So Komari's whole thing last week was just so selfless. Like I said last week, if you have any disrespect towards her character, it's punishable by death in every major country. Like, it's just unacceptable behavior, if you ask me. So the idea that she lost, right? But it's like, you can't bottle up stuff and then have that wonder what would have happened if you didn't bottle it up, but also it just can hurt to keep things bottled up. And despite clearly losing and being rejected, the idea that she still wants to give these two a fantastic send-off so that they can, you know, go out on a high, even though she gains nothing at face value for doing it. Just a completely selfless character. And I love the idea that the core message of this episode, despite obviously changes happening, you know, who's going to be new vice president, all that stuff, the core thing coming out of this episode is that for Komari, she very much values Nuck. And not in a way that it feels sexual at this point. I mean, it's entirely possible different webs can start to brew of who actually likes who, but as it stands, like, despite him being so socially awkward about the let's pretend to be siblings so that people don't think we're dating, it is very true, though, that she has come to rely on him, and even though he thinks at face value she's really no different because she's quite feisty, she really has started to rely on him, and it's really nice to see how this kind of quote-unquote background character, because he still technically is more of a side character for any of these girls or any of these other characters. For us, he is, of course, our protagonist. But the way they see him, it's not as like, oh, now here's my new love option. It's like, no, it's here's a really good friend that's supporting me, and they all have their own beliefs and desires of how things are going to go. And I just really enjoy how they're handling the drama. It still remains to be one of the best produced school series in recent memory, just the way characters are walking. Because a lot of times with like animation, like when characters are walking, there's like a little bit of they're going all in. I feel like these drawings have shoulder blades. They have shoulder blades, they have hip bones. Like the fact that it feels like when you're modeling something in 3D, you make a skeleton. So you have something that you can control each individual part. When you're drawing something, you know, you got some keyframes in between frames to do it. They almost animate it as if it's 3D. Now, I'm not saying it looks 3D, but the amount of movement that's in every individual piece of body animation, it feels like it should have been 3D, but somehow they did it all 2D. Like, this is the type of stuff you expect to see in a ufotable production on, like, a big Sakuga action scene or a well-put-together anime film. Just absolutely bonkers. We only have a couple episodes left of this show, and it's still crazy to me that I almost slept on this one when it first dropped because it really didn't seem like anything special, but now I'm looking at the upcoming anime season, I'm like, god damn it. How many of these generic-ass looking shows are actually going to turn out to be a banger? Personally, I hope none of them because there's already too many shows I know are going to be good, and I don't got the time for that. This was good, though. I would honestly, at this point, put Kamari's arc as my favorite one that I've seen. I just like the difference of how it's not always just about taking a sledgehammer to these girls' hopes and dreams and desires, but more so it can be about the epilogue of what happens afterwards and how they move on with their life. And, you know, as Nuck says, maybe he's not a huge fan of the whole time heals wounds, but, you know, sometimes you do have to accept that time is going to be the healing factor sort of a thing. Great episode, questionable as hell. I mean, literally, we started the episode with her blasting porn in her car, man. What more do I need to say? Let me know your feelings down below, though. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course, ring that bell, and like I mentioned, full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout-out. So today we got True Obelisk, Sean, Big Duval, Adler 2704, Shasho Passon, Jacob, Cody Namir, Alexander Wright, and we also have Thomas Smith. So I appreciate the support, everyone, and please take care, and y'all have a good one.